I'd like to call the Proctor City Council meeting to order for Monday, October 17th, 2022. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perform roll call at this time. Councilor Benson.
Present.
Councilor Reuter.
Present.
Councilor Johnson.
Present.
Councilor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward is also present. Please let the minutes reflect all others in attendance. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, October 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda, but we have a few additions to add before that motion is made. I would like to add 5J, change orders 1, 2, and 3 for the salt sand facility, and those were on your desk prior to the start of the meeting. And I'd like to add 5K, pay estimate number 3 for the salt sand facility. And with those changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we'll take comments and suggestions from the citizens present or watching from home. The public comment suggestion period of this meeting is when the City Council offers a time for everyone in attendance or watching from home to address the City Council. Once we move on from the public comment suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but will not comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. The council will not engage in dialogue. However, any council member can ask questions. If you'd like to address the city council during the public comment suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the city council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment suggestion period of this meeting? Please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289.
Kathy Hannon, 3rd Avenue, Proctor. I know that we, as a community, have several things sort of coming toward us. We have highway 2 work, and trail and park work, and playground, and then in 3 very short years, it will be our country's 250th birthday. And I would suggest that while we haven't for a long time, we need to reinstate a comprehensive plan. It is, in my opinion, the best way to sort of see what's coming and anticipate it and in a timely fashion address things that will affect our community. So I'm asking that city staff take that idea and institute the comprehensive plan once again. It worked very well for the years that we had it, and it's lapsed like many other good ideas / organizations have lapsed in the last year or two. So I would just suggest we could do well to reinstate it.
Thank you, Kathy. And we'll give that another minute or so. Hearing no others, we'll move on. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That will bring us to 3A, City of Proctor Finance Report, Quarter 3. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. This was submitted by Finance Director Brunfeld.
If you have any questions, I can certainly bring those back to her. I can try my best at answering questions today.
Does council have any questions regarding the finance report for Q3? Councilor Benson?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to make a motion that we accept the quarterly finance report.
You heard the motion by Councilor Benson. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 3B, CDBG pre-application. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. The St. Louis County CDBG pre-applications were due last week. I submitted 2 pre-apps for 2 different projects. One was for some accessible bathroom access at our playground for everybody. That was the bathroom that serves the playground is quite far away, and if you're going to be serving people with disabilities, we should look at having something just a little bit closer. And ADA access is one of the categories that Proctor scores strong in with St. Louis County CDBG. The other is a public service pre-application, and just so you know that by no means by submitting these are we committing to the project. They can be developed and molded or taken out, but the fire department has reported, and see further down your agenda, an increase in lift assist to private residents. And so in listening to the problem and how possible fixes is to create a program where we connect up households that have repeated lift assist calls to outside resources, such as safety coordinators who can come into the house and assess their needs so they prevent those falls. And that was actually a proposed partnership with a local business to do that. Our qualifications for St. Louis County CDBG are pretty limited. Our Proctor doesn't qualify as a low to moderate income community. So when we look at handicap accessibility or public services are 2 areas that we do qualify for.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions regarding the 2 applications? Councilor Benson.
Thank you. My question is, because we are a low to mod community, does that mean we don't qualify for things like the infrastructure and commercial rehabilitation?
We are not a low to moderate income community.
We are above that.
We are above that.
So we
that
do
makes
not
us correct.
qualify because we are not.
Correct.
So do those levels of participation change much from year to year?
Explain your question.
This round of funding is for low to moderate.
Infrastructure requests?
And yeah, infrastructure, commercial rehabilitation, economic development.
Those all have low to moderate income qualifications to them, whereas handicap accessibility and public service do not have low to moderate income requirements, which is why those are the 2 categories that we qualify to apply for.
So when we apply, is it community specific or neighborhood specific?
For these applications,
Not for these applications, for the other ones that were not qualified for.
so I can explain Second Street project, for example. That is not in a census tract that qualifies for low to moderate income household qualifications. So the only way that we would be able to apply for infrastructure is if we went house by house and maybe one specific, or block by block, and one block was low to moderate income. And then we could only apply for infrastructure, water and sewer for that particular block.
And that would make it difficult on any project, larger project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion regarding the CDBG grant or applications? Hearing none, we'll move on to 3C, Playground for Everybody report. Administrator Rich.
Thank you. So you do have a Playground for Everybody report in your packet. The rubber service was installed in the nick of time with the cold weather coming. We logged over 800 hours of volunteer time on the installation. We're waiting for the delivery of some railings. This is why it's not open yet, and they were not included in the initial delivery. And if you recall, that was all came packaged up and was on the site, so we weren't able to verify that at delivery. I do have a grant application to the Reed Foundation for the remaining project balance, and you can see those balances in front of you.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the Playground for Everybody update? Councilor Benson.
Is there an anticipated opening date, or you're just going to move that to spring?
We are probably going to end up moving it to spring. We are checking every single day on the availability of the railings, which we can't open up until the railings get put up.
Okay, thank you.
Would our CBDG application, would lighting, I know Officer Mosier called me last week concerned about lighting on that playground. Would that be something that CBDG we could apply for?
We may be able to. I think it might be one of those elements of a project where we could use it as a matching part if they paid for the sidewalk and the restroom part of it, but the lighting we could use as our match. It might not specifically qualify for ADA.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to 5A, PUC appointment. In your packet was a recommendation from the Proctor Public Utilities recommending Mr. Troy DeWall be appointed to the Proctor Public Utilities Commission for a term of 3 years. Is there a motion to seat Mr. DeWall on the PUC?
So move.
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? I will just say that the meeting Commissioner Katie and Administrator Rich and I had was a good meeting, and I think there's good discussion had, and the PUC is in agreement with everything council had to say. It just they wanted to see more applicants apply, and unfortunately I think we all know that it's hard to get a lot of applicants to apply for open seats. But other than that, I thought it was a great meeting, so that's all I had. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Benson.
And I was there as well, and I just wanted to say that the give and take, the discussion between the candidate and the commission was actually very interesting and productive, and I thought it went well also. Good questions from both the commission, good questions from the candidate, and the answers were wonderful. It was very nicely done.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Abstain.
Councilor DeWall abstains. Can we do a roll call vote?
Mr. Mayor. Oh, go ahead.
No, I can do it. Councilor Johnson.
Yes.
Councilor Roweeder.
Yes.
Councilor Benson.
Yes.
Councilor DeWall.
Abstain.
Mayor Ward.
Yes. Motion passes. Councilor Reuter.
Well, I just wanted to congratulate Mr. DeWall, first of all, and secondly, now that you're on the Public Utilities Commission, any chance the PUC could help us with some lighting down the playground for anybody?
I'll take that under advisement.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Thank you. That'll move to 5B, Fire Department termination. In your packet again is a recommendation that Mr. Steve Grabko from the Proctor Fire Department be removed for the lack of communication regarding his absence from the fire department. And I know Chief Elquist is here if you'd like to step up to the podium to answer any questions. So we'll look for a motion to approve the termination letter.
So move.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? I just got one thing. Chief Elquist, I know in our packet we didn't have documentation, but you do have records of his absence.
Yeah, we have records of every quarter going back to the beginning of time on what attendance policies are in place, and also extra duties, training. So yes, we have numerous documentations for every member on the department.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That'll bring us to 5C, Fire Department resignation. In fact, it's a letter from Gunner Wenner, resigning from the Proctor Fire Department due to time restraints. It looks like he's got a busy life, so.
He moved to
Cloquet?
Redford Township.
Oh, Redbird, okay. Is there a motion to accept the letter of resignation?
So moved. Or second.
Counselor Johnson made the motion, Counselor Benson seconds it. Any further discussion? I'd just like to thank Gunner for his time on the department and wish him well. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to 5D, Proctor Lift Assist Policy. In your packet is a policy regarding what was discussed a little bit earlier in the meeting, a proposed non-emergent lift assist policy. This is only intended for privately funded staff businesses on a repeated basis. There is a report in here showing the handful of businesses we have where the fire department and police department has been called for lift assist, looking for a motion to approve the non-emergency lift policy. I'll make a motion for discussion if there's a second.
I'll second for discussion.
Counselor DeWall seconds that. Any discussion? Counselor DeWall, would you like to go first? I can go first, it don't matter.
Go ahead.
We have a policy in place, or in front of us. And this policy doesn't allow the city to bill private residences. And I understand why we can't. But it looks like that's where our issues are, is on private, absolutely, is where the issues are on this policy. So how is this gonna fix the issue is my question, I guess.
Well, if you don't mind, I can answer that. We looked at, yes, we did look at these numbers, and obviously the issue is on the private residence. However, the business side of it did double in 1 year. And if that trend continues, if it doubles next year, if it doubles the year after, then you're looking at a problem and you're looking at a reactive policy rather than a proactive policy. The other issue is right now, there's an assisted living home who does a very good job staffing and is taking care of those calls. It just takes one ownership change or one management change to change that. I understand in years past that may have been the case. So Fire Chief Helquist and I are looking at this as a proactive policy to have in place should it become a larger problem.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Counselor DeWall?
That was my question, because when I was reading the report, it's like, I didn't understand the policy when we go from 2 cases 1 year to 4 cases the second year. It didn't seem to me like it was a huge problem with the businesses, if that's what we're focusing on, and trying to figure out privately or through the residences, how do we, because that's where, to me, it seems to be the problem.
Is a private residence.
Is the private residences, and granted, through natural attrition, it comes and goes as people move through life, but that's where I see the underlying issue.
I would agree.
So that also is response to the CDBG application that I mentioned, is to, should the fire department get a repeated call at one particular address, that we can start a referral system to have a certified safety home inspector come in and look at ways, are grab bars necessary, is there unnecessary, are there trip hazards present? If we have someone who's safety certified trained, they can, and an RN, they can also look at perhaps medications are causing trips, perhaps there's nutrition needs, and it can be a more rounded approach to helping the resident. Because sadly, it is usually what they call repeat offenders or frequent flyers that are getting these lift assist calls.
For example, last year we had a residence that we went to 39 times in a 4.5-month span. This year, we've had 2 residences that we've went to over 20 times. I mean, it's strain on us. It really puts a bad vibe in the fire hall when you're going to the same place over and over and over and again. And the other problem that we have with it is when the pager goes off and you hear that residence and you have to go again, it's really hard to have people keep going back to the same place over and over and over and over again. So I appreciate everything that city administrator did as far as trying to figure out how we can direct, residents to go to get help, or maybe as a, city, we help them somehow, some way, because it affects, not only does it affect the residents that we go to, it affects somewhere else down the road that we go to, because someone might have went to the same place 10 times and now you get a heart attack sitting on the outside of Blackwoods, and they don't have the same enthusiasm. It's just natural. So I'm glad that we've actually started the process. And I don't have the solution, so don't look to me for the answer, but at least there's a process that's started to maybe eliminate some of these calls. Right now, we're on record pace to run roughly 550 or more calls this year. That's over 50 calls more than what we ran in years past.
Right. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 5E, insurance waiver, resolution 37-22. In your packet is resolution 37-22, waiving the liability coverage limit. So council can decide whether they want to waive the tort limits or not to waive. This resolution is saying you do not want to waive the monetary limits on municipal tort liability. Is there a motion to accept resolution 37-22?
Make that motion.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 5F, Proctor Fire Department Relief Association Pension Level Request, Resolution 38-22. In your packet is a Resolution 38-22 asking for increase to the Proctor Volunteer Fire Department Fire Relief Board of $2,600 per year effective 1/1 of '23. That would be a $300 a year increase. Is there a motion to approve? No, hearing no motion.
I'll make a motion.
Councilor Reuter made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? I will have some questions here. And I'm glad Andy's here because I don't recall the Fire Relief Board recommending a $300 increase.
We did it in one, I guess, single motion that's related to the next agenda item. The relief board voted to move to para,
I remember that.
as you know,
Yep.
at the rate of 2,600. So,
Okay,
That's,
and I don't recall it, that's why I'm asking. I
Okay.
know we had a conversation how they will analyze the fund every year, and
Yep.
then the
Yep. And
department
I have
will
that
come
here.
back and ask for an increase depending upon how that fund is sitting. And that's when Chief Elquist and I had a discussion about comparable departments, but I guess I wasn't under the understanding that we were making a motion to raise it that much, so that's my question. So it was voted on.
yeah, it was voted on at the last relief
At a
meeting, but it was
$2,600.
folded into one
Got it.
motion rather than a separate one.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
I have a couple discussions.
Mike, please. Counselor DeWall.
There's some information, I don't receive the minutes from the board meetings, relief board meetings, so I can only go by what's in front of me. But there was some information where they kind of did some anticipated estimates. They couldn't give us a real good number until they got our fund. So sometime next year, when they go through and analyze it, they'd be able to give us a more secured, and I believe it was from the Para Association where they were commenting on estimates. If memory serves me right, what we've traditionally done is we've tried to look at it on a yearly basis. We didn't, the last raise was $300. I believe it was stated we wouldn't go to council for 3 years, which fire department has not. But we were kind of going through the acclimation of about $100 per year. My fear is, at the end of the day, the city is going to be ultimately responsible for this price tag, as they have been previously. My second fear is that with the market in the shape that it is at, and judging by what I'm seeing as a fund balance number, we've obviously incurred some losses just in the last 6 months, not knowing when that end is coming. And I want to make sure that I'm clear. I'm not against raising a benefit level, but also trying to be fiduciary with taxpayers' money as well. As I look at this thing, I'm glad that we can maybe save some money to the general for auditing fees, and it looks like costs per 1,000 are going to be less than what they were with, I guess it'd be the current vendor. But I'm almost to the point of where I'd like to evaluate this until we get to the calm of the water, so to speak, with this new vendor that I haven't seen anything that shows me anything different. And when they speculate right in their letter that this is an estimate only, we won't have secured numbers until next year, I guess a part of me is I kind of want to dice it down the middle. I'd like to, we've been trying to average $100 per year. I'd like to see the members get at least $100. I'm willing to gamble that, looking at our, I'm going to call it debt to capitalization ratio, but there's a fancier name for it. It's basically what we owe and what we're funded at, what percentage. I want to make sure that we maintain, I don't think we need to be 150%, but we need to be above 100% at all times and take kind of a happy medium. So I guess what I'm proposing is, and council can make the ultimate decision, is that we move for a $100 increase for next year. We let the dust settle for the first 2 quarters and bring it back when we can have some more information in front of us that's relative.
Are you looking at this sheet?
I think so.
It's got the highlighted lines at the bottom. See what we're doing.
Mine doesn't show, well, it kind of does, I guess.
Okay, I can go over the sheet if I may. It's so they took our current fund at the $818,000. They estimated us to be at a funding ratio of 124% at $2,600. The annual financial requirement that has to go into that fund on a yearly basis is $46,854. So then they took the fire state aid at $29,385, and our projected earnings on a assumed 6% is $49,136, and they came up with 124%. That does not count the $10,000 that the city contributes every year, and that amount brings it up to $88,521, which would slightly raise that percent, but that's not even included in the math here. If I go to Para from 2017 to 2021, they had a 5-year rate of return of 10.3%, and they're operating under an assumed 6. Looking at, if you look at the next column at $2,700, that's still holding at 119%. at a safe place. The last increase that the council allowed the fire department was in December 2019 to take effect January 1st, 2020. And as we agreed, we'd wait 3 years, so it's my intention to do that again. So we'd like to, I guess, looking at the relief, has reviewed everything. We reviewed it with the state and, what's that? Yep, Leslie did actually a pretty heavy review on it. Administrator Rich was involved. We do have, we all feel we have sufficient funds to continue that, and that's giving a 4% cushion plus the $10,000 a year contribution cushion on that as well.
I guess I would agree with Councilor DeWall. Everyone made money on funds over the last couple of years. Right now, it's kind of a rocky situation as far as funds go. I sit on a few of them, but no one really knows what's going to happen to them. And I think if I heard Councilor DeWall correctly, you were suggesting upping it $100 this year, because that's what we did in 19. We did $300, I believe, for 3 years, right?
Yep, that's great.
So we did about $100 a year. Do it this year for 100. Let's see where the dust settles at the end after we get in. If we get into para, that's the next item for discussion on our agenda. But if we get into para, let the dust settle, see where the fund sits when we're done, and address this issue again next year. I think that's what you were saying?
Yeah, so it just buys a little bit of time to let the dust settle, let, whatever's gonna happen. If council decides to go with para, the movement of money will go through a very unstable market right now. It just means instead of waiting 3 years to come back, it means that, council's gonna have to address this again after second quarter. And if things look good and the dust has settled somewhat, then we can continue on. So it's not saying no, it's just kind of taking more of a step approach.
Sure. We'll take whatever you're gonna hand us.
Because at the end, I believe that it's a good tool for recruitment, retainment, all of that I'm supportive, but it's a little nerve-wracking right now in the market, and if anyone was telling me what they could guarantee, they're blowing smoke. I think it'll be okay. It's not the first time that this fund has been in a predicament that our market is in currently. And I'm definitely not saying I'm opposed to a total of 300 over the next 3 years. I'm just saying, let's step it, give it 6 months, after second quarter, look at it in June again. And it just means we come back to the table sooner instead of waiting 3 years.
Sure, okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me, Council. Is that in a form of a motion, Councilor DeWall?
There was a motion.
There was already a motion
Second.
for discussion.
Oh, for discussion, yeah,
You
for
may
the
have to
26.
take roll call on that one,
We can put it to a vote, yeah.
and then do another motion.
Yep. Any other discussion on the original motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who said that?
Oh, no. You're talking about the original thing.
Yeah, the 26. No? Okay, we'll do it again. All in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion fails for lack of support. Is there a new motion that would like to be presented?
I'd like to make a new motion, Mr. Mayor, that we, effective January 1st of 2023, we raise the level to $100, with the caveat that we will reassess after the dust settles and whether we determine what we're doing with the fund as a council. Say, put it up for June meeting or something. I'd like to set it at least the month of June so that we don't forget about it.
So up their pension to $2,400 a year.
Correct.
And
I'll
then
second that.
readdress it come June.
June, the month of June.
Councilor Wall made the motion, Councilor Reuter seconds that. Any further discussion?
Could you repeat the motion, please?
Could you repeat the motion, please?
My motion is, Go ahead, Megan, recite it.
The motion was as of January 1st, 2023, to raise the level $100 for a total of $2,400 a year for reassessment at the June meeting.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you. That'll bring us to 5G, Proctor Fire Department Fund Conversion to SVF Para, Resolution 39-22. So in your packet was Resolution 39-22, moving our volunteer firefighters into the voluntary statewide lump sum retirement plan. Is there a motion to do so? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I don't see the minutes again in front of me from the relief
Sure.
meeting, but if I heard right, the relief board is making a recommendation to move from the current vendor to Para.
Correct, correct, yep.
And then that would bring me to a second question.
Councilor Wall.
Does that change the way the board operates, the relief board?
Currently, there is a little bit. We do lose a little bit of local control for funds. As you know, RBC is in control of it right now. We have no say in what the pair will do with it. Currently, they are in 5% cash, 35% domestic stock, 15% international stock, and 45% fixed income. Is what they do. There is a board within Para that involves city officials and firefighters. I couldn't tell you the exact number that control it, and they represent all the Para entities that are in it.
So what does that do to our current existing local board? Does that disband that board?
No, it doesn't disband it. We currently have 7 members, and we will go down to 5 under this. So there will be a president, vice president, a treasurer, secretary, and 1 trustee. Currently, there are 2 trustees plus 2 voting city representatives, and that is Mayor Ward and Administrator Rich, currently.
So we'll still have 2 city officials that
No.
can vote?
No, you will not. That goes away, and it just goes to the basic 5 on the relief board. Basically, it's to keep the advantage of nonprofit. We can still help make some policy decisions within the department, such as the point schedule, things of that nature. But otherwise, it dwindles down.
I have just a couple of concerns. One primary concern is the reason we had some city folks was to keep the transparency going back and forth. If we're not going to have that level, the way I look at it is at the end of the day, I want to see some city involvement, not just at a council level, but whether it's our administrator or our mayor or whoever that is. Because at the end of the day, council is on the hook for the liability of this
Yes.
pension, but I feel like they don't have a voice in it other than a reaction from a decision that our local board makes that really doesn't have much local authority anymore other than policy change. So I'm kind of concerned how that's all going to flush out.
So prior to having a voting representatives from the city, there was just the relief board. Those were added by law. The Minnesota state statute actually changed that a couple years ago. And that's why the representatives from the city came. Prior to that, we always notified the city of meetings. The entire city council was notified. Honestly, we didn't really see any involvement at that time, but any decisions that the relief board made went to council. This relief board will still look at this analysis and say, okay, say it's towards the end of next year when we feel we could get another $100 raise. We would then vote on it on our end, and then we could come to the council just like we are now. So ultimately, the council still has the final say in any decision that we make.
And I understand that. I just, like, are we gonna get minutes in of those meetings like we do with every other commission?
Yep, we can do that.
And I guess I'd still like to see someone from the city because people change, faces change, leadership changes.
Yeah, absolutely, and we would encourage that too. We would like to still to have a city representative join us.
I think it just really helps communicate what the board is trying to accomplish by having a voice that is a part of that group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can bring it back and we can get through some of the questions before it's brought to this type of atmosphere.
Sure, yeah.
So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I agree with Councilor DeWall as far as meeting minutes. You know, if it's an open meeting, is there a possible way we could get those added to our agenda when you have a meeting, submit?
Yeah, well, we can just make that a general practice that
That would be,
we have a meeting, we have minutes, it gets immediately sent to Administrator Rich.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And then all councils in the loop.
Yep, absolutely.
I like that. So to your point, Councilor DeWall, I think Administrator Rich and myself and Chief Helquist and Andy can work through that and at least have somebody at those meetings, whether we're a voting member or not, as long as we get an invite. Would that suffice you? Perfect.
I think the intention from when this very started with Jess and Leslie, and Jess can probably elaborate a little bit on it because Leslie did most of the legwork on this and had all the information for us, even though we were the ones asking. She's way better at it than us. But the idea behind it was, I don't think it was to eliminate any city involvement in any way, shape, or form. And Jess can attest to this, is every time something comes up, I mean, she's my first phone call. I mean, I basically look at her as the boss and something comes up.
Yeah.
And she'll tell you, the phone rings immediately. So it was never we need to get the city out of this. That wasn't the intention. It was a cost-saving measure. And it's a significant amount of cost saving to us when you start looking at what our audits have been. It's a huge expense, and we're eliminating almost 75% of that cost.
No, and to your point, Chief Helquist, and I'm not speaking for Councilor DeWall, but I don't think his intent there was to feel like you slighted the city and kicked us off the board. I think he's looking for an open communication line. You know, invite us to the meetings, let us sit in on them, and
I'm looking at when everyone in this room is potentially not in this room anymore, 5 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
There's a consistent process set up from the beginning so that, you know, because players change every couple of years and people retire and move on, and I'm just looking at kind of the long run of it.
Yeah. Yep, I would agree. We definitely want city to back us up, and we don't want to make any decisions without your support either, so.
perfect. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That will bring us to, thank you guys. I think,
Thank you.
I think the fire department's done for the night.
Sorry. Trying to make it all in one night. So.
Oh, it worked good. It worked good. Thanks for coming, both of you. 5H, TZD Grant Agreement, Resolution 40-22. In your packet is Resolution 40-22 to participate in the execution of Toward Zero Deaths Enforcement Grant Agreement with the City of Duluth. Is there a motion to accept the grant agreement? I'll make that motion for discussion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Councilor DeWall seconds it for discussion. Any discussion? Councilor DeWall, you have the floor.
I'd just like to start with, it seems like and I wish our chief was here to answer some of these questions, but just seems like every year we're doing less and less and less. I thought we were up to full staff. One of my questions was, for the dollar amount that we have appropriated, what is that? Is that 2 shifts, 3 shifts, 4 shifts?
So Counselor DeWall, and that's Administrator Rich, I had a meeting with Chief Gaddis before our meeting tonight to ask that same question. That's a budget, so he has a formula where he charges, if an officer does a shift after, they work their normal shift, this is above and beyond their regular scheduled shift, but he has a formula where he charges the City of Duluth for each hour that officer worked on a TZD run, and then bills them. As soon as we get 1713 back, we're done with our shifts. The reason that amount keeps going lower and lower is because we haven't been full strength for many years, and our officers aren't picking up as many shifts as we used to. So now that we are full strength, he's hoping maybe some officers will step up and start participating again, and we hope to see that number grow a little bit more. With our younger officers that we have, I think they like the overtime and they want to get out there working. So Chief Gaddis did say this was a good thing to participate in again, and it will not exceed 1713. That is just a budgetary number. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Floor is yours, Councilor DeWall.
That was my question.
That was it?
Yep.
Any other discussion?
So it could go up as much as it could come down.
We're only going to get paid for what we do, but up to that amount.
Because, my question was the same as Councilor DeWall's was.
This
It's
log-
been going down, and I didn't know if it was just officer fatigue because,
And there is one benefit, and Chief Gaddis said I could share it tonight. If somebody's doing that power hour shift and gets a DUI stop at the end of that shift, instead of going on our overtime, we can turn that extra time over to TZD and charge it to this 1713. So that is a benefit of it as well.
I look at this and get a little confused because I think with Floodwood, they have 2 or 3 officers.
Well, I can speak directly to that. They have no opportunity for overtime either. So this is an opportunity for them to make some more money.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I have a side question from that comment.
Councilor DeWall.
So how does that work then if they're at 20 minutes to the end of their shift and they do a serious call that goes beyond? How do they handle that?
I guess I overstated it as no opportunity. Obviously, those opportunities, I'm saying little to none opportunities for overtime.
Only when it's situational. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to 5A, boiler quote. Administrator Rich.
Thank you. I tried to include a very exhaustive list of how we got to this point with our boilers. If anyone has any questions about that right now, you can certainly interject. But the long and short of it is that we had a fire in our electric boiler. It is under insurance review right now. The electric boiler is actually at a forensic engineer company's facility, and they're trying to determine the cause of the fire. Looking at supply chain, and we were given the opportunity to purchase 2 boilers. That brings us back to natural gas being as our primary heat source, and fully, they're big enough, 1 million BTUs each to heat the building. They weren't going to sit there long, and they were a fit for us. So we are asking for approval. It was an emergency, literally an emergency purchase.
Yeah, and just to be clear to council, Administrator Rich did reach out to me, explain the situation. We had no heat. We still have no heat. It's getting colder by the day. It's a big purchase, $134,265. Johnson Controls was worried those boilers were gonna disappear and get snatched up right away. I told her, get them on hand. If council has a problem, we can return them. So that's why we pulled the trigger on that. I didn't want to declare an emergency to make that purchase. I figured we can discuss it today, but, so if council has issues with that, that's on me. But I felt we needed to get them here and start the process so we can get heat back in the building. So is there a motion to approve the Johnson Control bid for $134,265? I'll make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilor DeWall. Any further discussion? Councilor Benton? No? You looked, I thought maybe you did.
Sorry.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That will bring us to 5J, change orders number 1, number 2, and number 3 for the sand salt facility. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, and I apologize for these getting to your council seat tonight. These were sorted out after council packets were published, and these were sorted out between SEH and our street crew, Jay and Rick, and I sat down to go through the change orders. There was some back and for the reason why we weren't ready for council meeting is because Jay and Rick were looking at ways, modifying the change orders along with SEH to get these change order prices down. I can go through them one by one with you since you are getting them for the first time. Change order number 1 is for some soil corrections on the new road. Yes, borings were done. There was a series of many borings that were done and obviously not done in this particular region where the soil corrections were needed. So change order number 1 is for $13,999.15.
Attorney Bray, do we need a separate motion on each one of these, or can we accept
You
them all?
could probably accept them all through one motion,
Thank you.
unless somebody wants to
Council all
raise an
right?
issue with individual ones.
Council all right with making one motion for all 3? Thank you.
Okay, and let me just overall state that our engineer's estimate on this project was $717,000. The bids came in less than that for this, so we are budgeting this project off of the 717. Even with these change orders that I'm asking for you for, we have, well, no, I'm sorry. We have $27,000 in remaining contingency before any change orders. So keep that in mind. Before any change orders are approved, there's $27,000 in this project budget, the budget was approved. So change order number 1 is for just shy of $14,000. Change order 2 and 3 are related to a problem that we are having with CenturyLink or Lumen having fiber optic line that goes through the right-of-way, through Minnesota Power's right-of-way, and it needs to be lowered. Otherwise, we can't do the work that we need for the road and the driveway. I have a list, an exhaustive list of SEH reaching out to CenturyLink to get this fiber moved. There was many months of no response, and then when they did respond, there was many excuses why they couldn't get it done immediately. These 2 change orders are directly related to CenturyLink not moving their fiber line. With that said, I've reached out to Attorney Bray to put them on notice of some sort and also send them a bill for these change orders. How successful we will be on that, I'm not sure, but it was upsetting to the project nonetheless. This is anything that we did. So it's change order number 2 is for Vite having to extend, let me see this. There's so many. Change order number 2, we had to do some grading and elevation changes because that fiber is in the ground, and so that required some additional grading, elevation, and seed cover. And that amount is for $2,145. Change order number 3 is also related to CenturyLink. We had to move our temporary access. We had to create a temporary access to the site so that our crew has access to their sand salt this winter. And that, again, is directly related to the fiber optic being in the way. And that change order is for $1,700.
That also included the curb cut.
And the curb cut, yep.
Thank you. So you heard all 3 change orders. Is there a motion to approve? Go ahead, Counselor Benson. Counselor Benson made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to members' concerns. Counselor Benson.
Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Pay
Oh, yeah, we got
order, yeah.
165K. I'm sorry. It's off to the side here. 5K pay estimate number 3, salt sand facility. Administrator Wright.
Thank you. So this is number 3. You put on 2 already, obviously, and the amount is for $389,627.90. This has been recommended by SCH.
So this application though is for 153, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah,
The total is.
correct. Yep.
So looking for a motion to approve the application for payment in the amount of $153,239.28. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing, Counselor Benson.
Mr. Mayor, so as I'm looking at that last page, is it right when I'm looking that it's now 56% complete, the project?
Or is that payment?
That,
Or,
that is not, that's not where the total project is. That's where we're at in payments.
just for the payments? Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now it will bring us to members' concerns. Counselor Benson.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor DeWalt.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson.
Nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Reuter.
Nothing with me.
I got a few reminders. Trunk or treat will be Monday, October 31st at City Hall from 4 to 6. Again, we got the Proctor Fire Department Scholarship Bingo fundraiser October 28th at the Buffalo House Junction, starting at, doors open at 5, bingo starts at 6. We are also doing the Mayor for Day essay contest. Essays can be submitted to City Hall, and that expires on December 12th, I believe, correct? And the reason I look so dressed up today is because I did lose the bet with the Proctor Urban Town football game, and I want to thank Mayor Boucher for giving me the smallest jersey that he could possibly find. So, with that, I have nothing more. Attorney Bray.
Nothing from me.
Administrator Rich.
Nothing.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $107,448.57.
I will make that motion.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Counselor DeWall made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.